The World Economic Forum has announced that it has recruited hundreds of thousands of information warriors to control the internet, policing social media and forums for misinformation and conspiracy content, which will then be systematically shut down. According to Klaus Schwab's WEF, misinformation on the internet is an infodemic that is potentially deadly and requires a cure. The definition of misinformation, according to the WEF, is any content on the internet that they disagree with. This means the WEF's hundreds of thousands of information warriors will be engaged in the act of shutting down dissent against the globalist elite. Before we dive in and expose the WEF's plans, make sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already and join the People's Voice Locals community. The link is below this video. Klaus Schwab warned us last month that whoever controls AI will control the future, and the Davos elites have wasted no time in laying the groundwork to enslave humanity. Conspiracy forums and YouTube comment sections are being targeted by the WEF's information warriors, who pretend to be ordinary users of the platform, but are actually working to disrupt proceedings and covertly seek support for the ideology of Klaus Schwab's WEF. Announcing the news on a WEF podcast, UN Communications Director Melissa Fleming said,
"So far we've recruited 110,000 information volunteers. And we equip these information volunteers with the kind of knowledge about how misinformation spreads, and ask them to serve as kind of digital first responders in those spaces where misinformation travels."
The WEF is subliminally influencing the masses in order to push their narratives onto the people. Also on the podcast, mainstream journalist Mark Little sets out potential solutions to the so-called infodemic. Little worked for Twitter and founded Storyful, a social media news agency closely linked to the fact-checking program. He has now launched Kinzen, a company which is threatening to use AI to censor online content on behalf of the elites.
I've started to see very much the spread of misinformation as a global health crisis. Because only when we think about misinformation in the same way we think about the spread of the coronavirus, in a similar way, that misinformation is that serious a threat to our society. Misinformation now is happening within our friends and families. So we have to find strategies to, first of all, recognize it. And secondly, as active citizens, just like we wear masks to protect others, we need to be the good citizen, the active vector fighting back in our daily lives.
The WEF are determined to control the internet, and they have had a major hand in pushing Senate Bill 686, also known as the TikTok ban bill, which gives American citizens 20 years in prison for spreading so-called disinformation. This is the most dangerous bill since the Patriot Act in 2001, and we made a whole video exposing how it will allow the globalist elite to colonize America and the free world. The link is under this video in case you haven't seen it. Raising awareness about this bill and ensuring it's rejected is of the utmost importance. So far, we the people have done a great job at exposing the evils inside the bill, but we can't rest on our laurels. The globalist elite are attacking us on numerous fronts. The World Economic Forum is not the only globalist organization setting its sights on controlling the narrative on social media by unleashing hundreds of thousands of information warriors. A global influence campaign funded by the Israeli government had a $1.1 million budget last year, a document obtained by the Electronic Intifada shows. According to the leaked documents, the State of Israel employs an army of 15,000 people to influence foreign publics, and they maintain 3 offices in 3 different countries solely dedicated to controlling the narrative on the internet. And Google's Jigsaw unit sponsors a RAND report that recommends infiltrating and subverting online conspiracy forums from within. According to the report, the best way to subvert conspiracy forums is by planting authoritative messaging wherever possible. So what is authoritative messaging? If you spent any time on forums lately, you might have noticed that when an interesting or explosive topic is created, the thread is immediately swarmed by users leaving messages disparaging the original post, picking it apart and basically finding any possible way to cast doubt on its legitimacy. This type of behavior is an example of authoritative messaging and is performed by users who are engaging on behalf of the World Economic Forum or Google's Jigsaw unit. The report states that if authoritative messaging in the conspiracy forum is successful, so-called moderate conspiracy theorists will flip to become influencers and help guide the flock to greener pastures as brand ambassadors for the common good, teaching others the errors of their ways. The Google report goes on to say that conspiracy forum members will eventually be persuaded by the bombardment of content flagged by algorithms, and they will slowly come around to believing that mainstream media and the fact checkers are right, by the sheer volume of evidence and or peer pressure to conform. Judging by the content of this report, it's clear the elite do not have much respect for the intelligence and persistence of the average so-called conspiracy theorists. This is where they are getting it wrong. The average user of conspiracy forums in 2023 has already proven themselves by rejecting the all-encompassing fake news mainstream media, despite an endless barrage of propaganda and predictive programming. These are the people who understand that all the world's a stage. These are the people who are already battle-hardened. Trying to infiltrate conspiracy forums and social media and subvert certain members seems like a tactic that will be perceived as an intrusion that furthers the divide and leads to even less trust. Having said that, it's important that we understand the nature of the information war being waged by the powers that be. We are part of something so huge right now. The elites will not be targeting conspiracy forums and social media in 2023 if these forums were not the last places on earth where truth is being discovered and lies are being exposed. We have the potential to break the chains of the past, the control, division, hatred and separation. We are literally creating a new world. That's why the control apparatus is so afraid. They know that they can't stop this. The more they lie, the more they deceive, the more they expose themselves, the closer they are to losing control.